I know that we had a little bit different style that we wanted to do today with the PowerPoint and kind of make it a little bit more interactive between myself and you. So definitely looking forward to that and dropping some gems on how we can increase case acceptance, some of the things that we see that are actually working right now, and some of the tactics that Wendy has brought into practices to 10x their case acceptance. So with that being said, Wendy, I'm going to turn it over to you to go ahead and kick it off.
All right. Good morning. Good afternoon. Hello, everybody. Yes, my name is Wendy Richmond, and I'm a Grant Cardone licensee 10X certified sales trainer, speaker, and coach, and of course on the marketing side as well. So today we're going to talk about how 10X strategies really to increase case acceptance. And we got some good stuff for you today. We got some good stuff. So just want to see right now, is there a dentist or treatment coordinator? Like who on the call? Is there anyone on the call right now who deals with this part of the process for any patient? Is there anybody on the call right now?
I know Freddie's on the call, and I know we have Marisol and Bailey.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Hello. Awesome. Well, I'm so excited to be for this topic because, you know, by the end of our call today, if you can really get a grasp of what we're going to be sharing today and start to implement it, and if you're already doing some, how can you tweak and get a little bit better? Then there's absolutely no reason why you cannot 10x your case acceptance. Absolutely no reason why. And so we're going to dig in. I'm going to start by showing. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to start with the. Let me get the PowerPoint up and ready here. Okie doke. All right. So let's go here. Okay, all right, let's get started. So 10xing, right? How to 10x your case acceptance. And can you tell I'm excited? Let's go. All right. So first we want to talk about what it is, right? And what is this key? What is this one thing that if you can do this, you can 10x your case acceptance? And here's what it is. Here's the big mystery. It's actually fact finding. It's called fact finding. It's called getting to know your patients, right? Whether new or existing, everything that we talk about today, it will help you. So we're going to talk about and go in depth on fact finding, and want to make sure that you understand that if you can get to the point where you can master this, then this is the key to everything. This opens up the door to everything else in the practice. So the first off, it's the key to everything after when they first come in. So we've already talked about attitude, why that's so important. We've already talked about the greeting, why that's so important. Now we're on to, again, the fact finding, getting to know them. Okay. And it's
Wendy,
yes,
if
sir.
I could just also jump in here to add one key point down here at the bottom. You know, one of the most important things, and a lot of times what I see a lot of providers do is they're asking things in a very clinical or in almost in interrogative type way, right? And I see that down at the bottom. And the biggest thing
why you off to? What are you off?
need to fact find is by being conversational and by building a relationship and allowing them to open up to you. And that is one of the things that is really, really important, especially when you're talking about people's healthcare. You want to make sure that you educate them. And going back to the number one reason people don't accept treatment, again, is not cost. That's number 5. The first one is trust. And this is where it all begins.
Yep. And you'll have to go back to what we did last time when we talked about the greeting. So that is, again, the first in building that rapport. And so, right. So it's the key to everything. And it's basically the rest of the sales process. All right. So once you have all the right facts and gotten all the information that you need, it sets up basically what to what to say to them, how to present, what product or service treatment that you should be offering them. It sets up how to close, all of these things, all from doing this one piece. Plus, it's about asking the right questions. And we're going to dig into these in just a couple of minutes, but it's really about asking the right kinds of questions. And then, of course, as Vimal said, it's, knowing the difference between having a conversation and actually interrogating someone. Big, big difference between the two. Okay, so why is this fact-finding the key to everything? Here's why. Okay, it sets up everything. Like I just said, it sets up the presentation, how to present to the treatment, how to present the right treatment, how to present it in a way that they're actually going to listen to it, how to present pricing in a way that they will actually, where you can make value of the pricing, no matter what the pricing is, and whether or not they're using insurance or not, doesn't matter. You still have to be able to present price in a way that they say, okay, yeah, I get the value of that. And then, of course, is the ultimate, the close, which is where they actually accept the treatment and pay for it. Okay, first and foremost, it's about questioning, right? It's about questions. And this is something that, and no matter what, we really still have to understand that what you're here to help patients, right? It is a sales. It is sales, no matter what. Because if you don't inspire them, if you don't sell them on why your service, why your practice, why you are not the right one for them, then you're going to go out of business. So it is about the sales process. And I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but the person who controls the questions controls the sale. Okay. And you've probably been in this situation, and maybe someone could in the chat or even respond back to me. How many of you have been with a patient and all they did was ask you the questions? And they were, yeah, there I see Megan. They're always asking, like the minute that they get on a roll and ask you questions, you are totally out of control of this process. So if you have it planned ahead of time, you know what kind of questions you're going to ask, then you start asking the questions, right? Then you will control what happens. Now, the other piece we want to make sure everybody understands is it's not just about the questions. It's about getting the answers. You got to ask quality questions, but the key to it all is you must get quality answers. If they do not answer your question, you need to keep asking until they do. Now, we got to make sure you're asking the right question, right? But if you don't get answers, then this is not helpful at all. So as you see over here, these different questions, as we're going through this, I mean, you're going to get this presentation, so you'll be able to see it again. But if you're taking notes, then you should be writing down these questions. These are some great questions that you can ask every single patient, new or existing. Why that service? Why are you coming to us looking for that particular service or treatment? Why today? Why now? Okay, these are questions that most never ask. But let me tell you, people will give you an answer if you ask it in a conversational way. What do you like about what you have now, right? Or don't like what you don't have now? What would you change about what you have now? And why are you trying to accomplish by getting this? What are you trying to get? Like, what's the end goal? Do you want to smile and be able to smile all the time? Do you want to be able to chew your food? Whatever those answers are, right? But if you never ask the question, you never know why today they are there. And if anybody has, yes.
What do you recommend, like at what point of the process of the patient journey? And do you recommend that you start this? And who is it done by? Is it done by the front? Is it done by the assistant? Is it done by the doctor, the treatment coordinator? Like at what point, do you start this process?
Well, I think you need to, there's a couple of two ways. There's one, depending on how they're getting to you, right? First and foremost, like if I'm calling out and calling like an implant, potential new patient, right? I could ask some of these. I wouldn't get too in depth on these. You could ask some of the basic questions, like what brought you here today? What can I get you information on? right? Here's a great way to answer the phone when somebody calls is, hi, this is whatever dental practice. My name is Wendy. What can I get you information on? Ask that question. There's the first question. Then they're going to tell you, oh, I'm interested in blah, 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 right? Now you've got something to go off of, okay? You can do it. Every office is different. So here's when it comes to who's going to do it. Well, not all offices have treatment coordinators, right? So it's done by the dentist. And it can be done, some do it as new patients, right? The new patient coordinator, back in the day, my very first practice, they did a lot of these things at the very, very beginning. When the new patient walked in the door, they brought them to a special room, gave them a special new patient bag and a welcome gift. And then they started building rapport and asking them these questions, you know, getting answers. And then what they had was a whole bunch of answers, right? Quality answers, a profile that they're building of this new patient. And then they would pass this information off to the different people in the journey of the patient. But again, every office is different. So that's why it's very unique to what, you know, what someone wants to do with this. That's a great question. So when you ask these questions, you ultimately want to come up with their dominant buying motives, the big why, right? If you don't know why somebody is doing this, then for you to help them, really help them, you're not going to know. If you don't ask the questions, you will never know why somebody walked into that office. And what you become is an order taker. Somebody comes in and says, I want an implant. So then you just go for, I'm just going to show them an implant and then take the x-rays, show them an implant, and then that's it. Maybe they don't understand all there is to that's part of an implant. They don't know. Maybe they don't understand pricing about it. They don't understand the different kinds of implants there are. They don't understand anything, but you go right to showing them the first thing that they say, oh, I want information on an implant. That's great. We'd like to give you all the information that we can on our implant treatment and give you X, Y, Z, all the information. And so they know, oh, there's a lot more to this than just, I'm just getting a pricing on an implant. But you got to know what their dominant buying motives are. You got to know their why. Now, this is what you want to do. And this is what I see the difference between successful offices and unsuccessful offices, or ones that could be better, is building a profile for a person versus trying to qualify whether or not they can buy or not buy. So when you're setting up and building a profile, you are asking questions, right? You're focusing on the buying and using habits and what a patient has done previously. You're wanting to know about them. You want to learn about them. You want to see their past, what experiences they've had with dentists in the past. Almost no one asked that question. And we're going to actually do a little role play at the end here, and I'm going to show you why you want to know these questions and why you want to ask them, and how different you come off versus the other way, okay? Down on the bottom here is qualifying them. This is what I see all the time. If they're, for example, have a certain type of insurance, let's just say they have state insurance, Medicaid. So many offices, they're just like, oh, Medicaid, they can't pay. We don't accept the insurance, they can't pay. So they're already like predetermining whether or not that person can do something based on what they look like, how they might act, you know, are they unemployed? If they start asking all these kinds of questions, then they just like, oh, well, this, and it's done by the dentist, it's done by the treatment coordinator. They always are looking at reasons why they won't do it. I'll give you an example. One of the offices I work with is a $1 million a month collection office, and they're a fee-for-service office, okay? No insurance. And that treatment coordinator knows, she knows, they talk to everyone. They build beautiful profiles of each patient. They don't predetermine whether or not somebody can do anything, because if you want something bad enough, how many times have each and every one of you gotten something that at first you're just like, oh no, I can't afford it, too much money, but you're driving a really nice car right now because you said, I'm going to get it. I deserve it. I'm going to spend the money. I'm going to find it some way or another. I'm going to ask my parents. I'm going to get my spouse to co-sign for me. Who knows? But if you want something bad enough, and your job when they come into the office is to get them so inspired and trusting that they will like do what they got to do to make it happen. So this is why you have to think about it when you're talking to patients, that you're building a nice profile about them, learning about them, and not pre-qualifying and seeing whether or not they can actually pay. Okay. Now,
This happens to me all
yes.
the time in the office. Every single time as an office manager, I would have like a TC come to me and they'd be like, oh, I know this patient is not going to do it because of their perception of the patient, their perception of them. And every single time it would come and bite them in the butt, because those patients who you think wouldn't do it, they would pay cash, or they would go do financing and they'd have an 800 credit score. It literally every time it would happen. So like, you can never prejudge because of what we think they're going to do.
And right. And so we want to really take an analysis. Part of what the training today is to make you aware and to make you self-analyze what is actually going on in your office, and are you doing these things? And once you can be aware of it, then we can show you, we'll give you some good stuff today. The next training that we do is going to dig in even deeper to give you even more ways that you can then take the answers to these great questions and then use them to present the proper treatment, and then ultimately get them to accept cases. And I love here what like cash paying people don't have any insurance or Medicare, for example. You don't know what people have access to until you bring them in and you show them, because like I said, and I'll say it time and time again, we all have bought stuff that we could not afford because we wanted it bad enough, whatever the reason, whatever our why was. Okay. So make sure, thinking about, are you all profiling a good profile, or are you actually qualifying and then disqualifying based on what you perceive the patient to be able to do? Okay. So remember, fact finding. We want to make sure we want three things. Number one is the what. Okay. You need to find out what problem they are trying to solve, and what is the right product or treatment service for them. Okay. You need to know that there's two reasons why people buy anything. Number one is that they need to solve or want to solve a problem, or two, they love something, right? And it's usually number one, they want to solve a problem. Nobody goes to the dentist unless they want to solve a problem. I don't believe, well, there might be a very small percentage of people go, I love the dentist and I love going to the dentist, but most don't. So knowing that you have to find out what problem are they trying to solve. And then the second one is the why, right? The dominant buying. Why do you want this? Why now? And that's a big question that you could ask even on the phone when you're talking to people at the very beginning. It's like, I understand you want information about implants or whatever service. And I'm just curious, like, well, why now? What brought you to us now? Why did you fill out that form now? Why are you walking into the office now? Okay. So you have to like get people talking. If you ask it in the right way, in a conversational way, people will answer you. And then ultimately, once you get these answers, you'll know how to present the proper treatment that's going to help, that's going to solve their problem. And people will not, if they do not feel that whatever you've offered them will solve their problem, they won't tell you. They'll walk out and say, let me think about it. Okay, so you haven't actually proven to them that whatever you've offered them and shown them is something that can really take care of their problem. So we also want to know that on how to present the proper treatment, right? How to overcome any objections they might have, and ultimately how to get them to say yes at the end. The what, the why, and the how. Now here's questions. These are questions that you should be writing these down, okay? Is that these are questions that you're asking that you should not be asking. These are questions that get people to put their guard up, These are people that say all they care about is the money. These are people that don't want to take care of me. Okay. And so, and then when you get those answers, that's where the contamination comes in. That's where you, as the treatment coordinator, or the dentist, or whoever else in the office, like says, you know what, they can't do this. They won't do this. And then, of course, they won't, or they can't, because you've already said that they can't. So make sure you write it. What is your budget? What do you want to spend? How do you plan to pay for this? None of those questions. What is the other practice selling it for? Right, the people coming in for the second or third, consultation, or getting that they've already been to some other dentist. You don't need to focus on that at all, because whatever that other office does, they are not going to be doing what you're doing. Okay. All right. Now, this is back to Vimmel's point, the conversation versus the interrogation. So let me ask you, though, a question, too, about fact-finding. Not ask you a question, I want to tell you something. And it's interesting that doctors' offices do it, and nobody has a problem with it, as far as like, well, I'm asking questions. I feel like I'm interrogating them, or if I'm asking all these questions, right? And yet, when I go to my doctor, who's been to the doctor recently? Anybody? Okay. So when you go, especially to that your practitioner, the one you go to annually, right? And they're just there to like check you out, and they're there to make recommendations, right? What their diagnosis is. So what are they going to do? They're going to ask you everything about you. So how you feeling? What's bothering you? What's this? What's that? And they're like, oh, my arm's bothering me. Oh, is there anything else? Oh yeah, my leg. Well, what's going on with your leg? Tell me exactly. Can you show me? Show me exactly. When does this happen? Does it happen when you're running? Does it happen when you're walking? Does it happen when you're sitting? Right? They are asking all of these questions. And because it's a doctor, oh yeah, we answer, because we want to get them to solve our problem. Well, it's the same thing when you go to a dentist. And if you have that type of mentality, is that we care. And asking questions shows that you care. The right questions. When you don't ask questions, it doesn't show that you care. So, and how you do it in a conversation, right? It's about a person. You're there to learn about a person. You're there to help about a person. You need to know why somebody's there, right? And how you can really help them. And so if you just give surface level questions, you'll get surface level answers, and it won't help anyone. Now, the way that you get a conversational questions are asking open-ended questions. Okay? Now, so open-ended, which gets people talking, right? And now versus interrogation is those yes or no questions. And when people go, yeah, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, it sounds like they're being interrogated by you. So one of your goals is to go out and go back into your offices and actually look and say, are we interrogating? Well, are we even asking questions? That's number one. Big mistake. Don't even ask the questions. And then two, what style? How are we asking those questions? Does it come off like we really care and we need to find out and know everything about this patient in the only relevant, right, to what it is that they're there for, right? And then, or are we asking the bad questions? Are we asking those questions about budget? How do you intend to pay this? Or what insurance do you want to use? You don't even need to use the insurance question. Don't ask insurance until the end. After they said yes, okay, now how would you like to take care of this? Oh, well, I've got insurance. Well, great. Let's look at your insurance and see what's covered under insurance. And then after that, well, this is what's the remaining balance. How would you like to take care of that? Okay. So maybe if you have any questions or need to stop me, go ahead. I'm just on a roll. Let's go. All right. So this is one thing that this is kind of an advanced piece. And we're going to go a lot more into this on the next call, but I want you to see this, okay? And we're going to talk about it. It's one of the questions in the questionnaire that I gave to you all earlier. I'm not sure if everybody got it or not, but we'll get to that in just a second. But what somebody has done in the past, leaves clues. We are human beings. We do the same things over and over and over again. How we buy one thing is just like how we're going to buy something else. Okay. And if you don't know that about someone, then it's going to make it a lot harder when it comes to presenting options as far as pricing goes and value. And so here, for example, what has somebody done previously, right? It gives so many clues about what they're willing to do now. Their lifestyle, right? What kind of lifestyle do they have? How have they purchased this particular treatment in the past, or something similar, or spent that kind of money, invested that kind of money, right? If they've never gotten, for example, an implant, but it's like what, 4,000, 6,000? Well, when was the last time that you ever invested like this amount of money on something else in your life? Oh, well, people will tell you. Right? What is not working about what they did in the past? What is working with what they've got? And what important factors or keys are they looking to change from their previous purchase? Or the previous time they were at a dentist? Right? That's a big one. I talk to people all the time, and they are always telling me about the horror story of what they had experienced at the last dentist. And then if you ask them, well, tell me about it. What happened? What didn't you like about it? They'll tell you all the things that you shouldn't do at your practice. Mm-hmm. And if you could have the perfect patient experience here with us, what would it look like? What would you like to see? They'll tell you how to do it. Okay? But if you never, ever talk to them about things that happened in the past, you will never know what and how to talk to them about what's coming up in the future. So Amelia, got have your name?
Yeah. Hi, Wendy. Nice to meet you. So I have a question about this. We work with Ace Dental. This is an account that was experienced a lot of no-shows. So we try to change a little how we call them, what we ask them, trying to make them feel a little bit more personal. But sometimes, and I wanted to ask you, I feel like people are unresponsive. Like, I think it bothers them sometimes because they want to be quick over the phone. They just want to confirm their appointment, and they don't want to like keep talking to me and things like that. And sometimes it's like easier, like faster to confirm them, but I feel that it's kind of like frustrating for them and for me. And my question was, how do you cope with this when you feel like they are not responsive, or like they are not interested on like all of these questions? They just want to get the appointment and that's it.
Well, I think it depends on how you set up the call. Okay. So I'll give you an example. For me, I mean, I make calls myself. I personally call, especially on the implant side or full mouth reconstructions, I'm calling to set appointments. And one of the things that I do is I go right into, I changed. Once I learned all this, I changed how I did things on the phone. So initially, when first you got to say who you are and the reason for the call right away, right? So they know it's you, and then they'll talk to you. And then and then you got to tell them the reason for the call is why you're calling them. And then so they can acknowledge, okay, yeah, I understand you're calling me for this, right? And unless they forgot, like say for someone who fills out a lead, they might not remember. And then I say, oh, does that ring a bell? I try to like get a little jokey with them or something, like, oh, I know it's been a while, but I'm calling you because you were interested. We got your information. You were interested in our dental implant treatment. Okay. And then they acknowledge, yes, you're right. So then I go into questions straight away. All right. Oh, great. That's awesome. We're so happy that you decided, to come and work with us and come to our office. And then I say, immediately I go into a question and I say, I'm just curious, like, are you interested in one implant or possibly more than one? Then they tell me. And then they go into the story about what happened. So they start giving me more information about what went on. And they're even saying like, what bothers them about it. And then I totally understand it. We can definitely help you with that. And then I say the way we work in our offices, and then I go down the path of, how we schedule our appointments. And I even say, because one of the things about Grant is about information overload. So what I do on the phone is when people say, that that they are interested in coming in, and I say, great, we want to get you everything. First and foremost, we want to make sure that you're comfortable in our office. And we want to make sure that you're comfortable with the dentist, and I use the dentist names. You're going to love him. He's kind and gentle dentist, really knows his stuff, right? First and foremost. And that's why say, for example, our consultations are free. And then I say, how does that sound? And they're like, oh man, that sounds good, because they're not used to hearing that. And I said, we'll give you all the information that you need, everything, as far as we'll give you the various options that are available to you. We'll find out the various payments that are available to you. We'll check your insurance and do a complimentary benefits check. So we'll give you all of the information so you can make a really good decision. How does that sound? Now I've just given them all this stuff that we're going to do for them before they even come into the office. And we didn't take much time at all. This is one thing that you got to role play and do it where you've done it enough that this stuff rolls off very quickly. And then, of course, if they tell you a story about what happened with them, you empathize. Oh, I totally understand. And if I've had, like, for me, I mean, I think what's made me so successful is that I'm still a patient. And no matter what, I've had bad experiences. I'm a scared patient. I have cried in the chair. I've been immensely afraid. I've had enormous pain. I've had implants. I've had robotic implants. I've had Invisalign. I've had a bridge that's failed. I've had root canals. Jesus, what the hell? I should have taken care of my teeth better when I was younger. Oh my goodness. But when somebody says this stuff to me, I totally get it. I understand. And you just have to understand, and like you heard them, I understand that this is something that's really been, bothersome for you, or that you can't eat your food or whatever. And that's why we're here to help you. And we want to get you all the information. We want to make sure you're comfortable in our office, comfortable with the dentist, and make sure you have all the information so you can make a really good decision. How does that sound? And then at the end, when we pick the time, right, and date, then I always throw in kind of at the end, I throw in the, just wanted to check with you, is there any other reason other than, maybe a zombie apocalypse that you might miss your appointment? You might not be able to make it to your appointment. And then I chuckle, and then they chuckle, and they're like, no, or they tell me, right? Oh, it might be because if work calls me or whatever. And it's a double confirmation for them to actually say, yeah, I'll come to this appointment, because they've already now said it out loud. Yes, I'm going to come to this appointment. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. I will use all of those bullet points that you provided me with, and I'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Good. Let us know. All right. So now, these are questions. These are the zinger, the fact-finding zinger questions. So if you're taking notes, these are questions that you want to ask your patients. Okay? Have you ever made a decision like this in the past? Now, actually, what I'd love to do is I don't care, anybody who wants to do this, who can role play with me, right? So who would actually just ask me these questions as if you're the treatment coordinator or the dentist and I'm the patient? Who would volunteer to do that?
I'll do it.
All right, Megan, you do it. Okay. Oh, wait, we have a hand up. Let's see first. Oh,
Who do it?
Yeah. Oh, wait, let's go back.
No. Megan took the first place. I wanted to do the role play.
Ayanda, go for it.
Do the role play. Sorry. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. Now I missed hold on. That's for next time. Let's get this out of the way. I apologize. Let's go back to this question. Here we go. Okay, slideshow. Oh, come on now. Try
Wendy,
again.
your computer knows it's Friday.
Yeah, I think so. I was doing so good. Okay, so here we go. So let's just, so I don't mess it up again. Can you still see the questions?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so let's just set this up. I'm here for an implant. So just ask me these. Don't worry about anything else, but I want you to see, based on my answers, how this is a better way to ask.
Okay. Hi, Miss Wendy.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Ayanda with 65 Broadway Dental. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm awesome. Well, not really. I'm here in your office. I don't like dentists. Sorry.
I know, hey, everyone is scared of dentists, but I assure you, you've got absolutely nothing to worry about. I mean, if you want to take care of your dental needs, that's the first step to having a beautiful smile for the rest of your life. So I can assure you that you've made the best decision by coming here.
Okay, great.
All right. So Miss Wendy, I just want to know a bit more, about your dental needs. Have you ever made this decision like this in the past?
Yes, I've had two implants in the past.
Oh, all right. I see. And the last time you did something like this, who was involved in the decision-making process?
No, it was just me. No one else, just me.
Oh, okay, that's great. So, I suppose that the last time you made a purchase like this, were your needs satisfied? Do you feel like you got great value out of that?
Uh, I think I've had two in two different offices, and the first one, the experience was so-so. I mean, it was, and it wasn't until I had the second experience that I saw the difference. But the first one, they did this, they were putting in the implant, and then at the very end, I don't know what they did, but they had like a hammer, and they had this like thing, and they were like doing this to like open up something, I don't know. But all of a sudden, nobody told me anything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what on earth are they doing hammering into my head? And it was just like, horrible. I was mortified. I didn't know what to expect. And I
Oh,
started crying. It was just like, it was a mess. And then
I am
this,
so sorry.
yeah. And yeah, and then,
Mm,
the second dentist I did this robotic assisted with, and the difference between like that office and the first office was they told me like every step of the way. He stopped and he told me, like, he looked me in the eye and he told me like what he was doing. Yeah, like, and kept
yeah.
helping me feel more comfortable, asked me how I was feeling, is everything okay? The first they just went through it and just did their thing, and they even talked amongst themselves. I hate it. I hate it when
Oh,
dentists talk amongst themselves or with the staff, when I'm sitting there with my mouth open, uncomfortable, and they're talking about like what they did for breakfast. I don't know, but it was horrible. So, but then the last one, he was so kind and gentle, and he just kept all along. And then when he asked me, he's like, oh, you can see it up on the screen. Do you want to see it? And I'm like, oh, no, no, no. I don't need to see
yeah.
anything. Eyes are closed, but you can just keep, if you keep telling me and keep, letting me know what's going to happen, so then I can prepare myself if I need to. So total night and day experiences. So I definitely say that second experience was way better.
All right. I am so sorry, Miss Wendy, about everything that you went through. It was a horrible experience, I understand, but I'm so happy that even though you went through that, you still, wanted to give it a third try, trying to make sure that you get your dental needs sorted out. And I am sorry about the ordeal, and I can assure you that you are going to be in the safest hands when you come to our office. You know what? I'm happy that you brought up your dental history, because that makes it easier, for us to convey this type of information to the doctor so that he can pay more attention, to your fears, and most importantly, to what you want to accomplish. So I'm really happy that you brought that up. And once again, I am so sorry that you had to go through all of that. So last question, because I do not want to keep you longer. I just wanted to know, the last time you invested in this, what was the investment that you made?
They were pretty similar. They're probably anywhere from like 4 to 6,000 each. And I paid them, I did it on credit, like I used Care Credit, and I paid it off over maybe 6 months or something. I paid it all. I paid like the first, like, here's what I did. I was like, I got the first
Yeah.
piece of it, and they charged me like just for the implant, right? And then they waited, and I paid that off on Care Credit, and then they now doing the crown. the abutment and the crown piece of it, and now I'm going to put that on care credit next. So now I can pay it off over time, and that it fit in my budget, and it made it so I could actually do it.
All right, that's awesome to hear that. Because we also do have some financing options, and we also have some payment plans, which is something that we can discuss with you when you come in. So would you be happy that I get you scheduled for your requested date, which is the 28th of June at 11 a.m. Are you still happy with that day?
Sure, sure.
All right, awesome. So Miss Wendy, I am going to be sending you your confirmation text as well as the voucher through the email. Please just keep an eye out for that. So from my side, I want to thank you so much for your time. It's been lovely talking to you. We cannot wait to meet you.
Yay! Let's give her a hand. Woo! Nice job, nice job. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you see, but so let me ask you. Well, I'm going to go to the questions now about that. Okay. And now you may not get someone to give you all of that on the phone, right? That might be more of when they're actually in the office, but you see the difference when you come from a caring perspective. You hear them, you listen, you understand and show empathy, whether it's on the phone or in person, just to make them feel. And let me tell you, if I didn't drop a whole bunch of clues as to how, if anybody who's on this call wants to sell me an implant, now you know, right? Now you know. So, so I don't know. Did everybody get this document? I don't think so.
I don't think I
so.
I don't have it.
Okay, I will send it to everybody, and we'll make sure that you get it. But I just want you to look at it now, because first off, I want you to look at your own practices, right? And what is actually happening there. First is awareness. You need to know and actually hone into what is happening or not happening in your practice right now. So make note, like over the next time that until we talk again, is like go and listen, go and hear, go and do something so you know what's, and if it's you, start to like, take some mental notes. Oh, am I doing this or not doing this? Okay. So I'm just curious here on the call, how would you, like Grant's method of needs assessment and fact finding, how do you think that this could increase your case acceptance?
Huge.
I think that whenever you get real with any patient, they will feel like the visit will be more like needs more attention for them, like it will go specifically for them, and they will feel like a priority. And I think like all the office wants to people feeling like that. So I think that fact finding, it's really important, so they know that it is for them and not just like for getting people into the office.
There you go.
100%. I think the more that you can get patients to talk about themselves, right, and not just give you the answers, like we're not checking the box, right? Ask the questions to get them talking about themselves, because the people like to talk about themselves, like they do. So just like Ayanda, you did there with Wendy, you were able to pull out of her what are her main concerns, what is important to her, and then that way you can skew how you answer and address those. Like that's the biggest thing, is finding out what motivates people, because it's different with everybody. And if you can fact find and figure this out, like you've just made this job that you're doing of getting a patient to say yes so much easier.
Yeah, and so much faster. And one of the big reasons why you do this is that there's a thing called sales fatigue, and it's because the process goes so long. And one, you don't want people in the office for hours and hours and hours, right? If you could actually get your process down where you can have them come in, get them to feel comfortable, answer questions, present everything, and do it in a timely manner, that means you can see more people. They're going to have a better experience, because nobody wants to spend hours in a dental office, absolutely, for any reason. And so this is just going to help shorten that time, which ultimately will help you on the case acceptance side. Okay. And then one kind of last thing that I have to bring up that we talked briefly about, we'll go a lot more into this in depth on the next one, but it's about what they've done in the past and how they've done things in the past is clues, shows clues as to what they will do in the future. So is there anybody here who can like think of the last time you bought something, anything, whether it's a car, a phone, television, computer? Does anybody have something that they can think of that they bought recently?
I bought an expensive pair of gym shoes.
Okay, great. And how did you pay for those?
I went to their site and I said they were too expensive, and then I just kept getting emails from them over and over and over and over again, and then I finally pulled the trigger and paid cash for them.
And have you ever done that before with another?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm a sucker.
Well, right, but you have a method, right?
Yeah.
So, and if she told us, if we were asking her about something that she bought recently, because for example, you might ask them, well, have you ever had an implant? Say they're coming for implants. Have you ever had implants before? Oh, no, I've not. So now what do you do? Right? So you got to now relate it to something else that they've made some kind of purchase on. And then you could even say, have you, when was the last time, have you bought like a phone, your last cell phone, or a television or a computer or a car? Like when was the last time you bought a car? And if you ask it in that way, they're not going to associate the price with the car. They're going to associate, it's like they're thinking, oh yeah, I bought my last car. Okay, great. And how much was that car? Well, that car was like 45,000. And how did you pay for that car? What was the process like? Well, I went to lots of different, I mean, I went to the first one, he gave me a number, and then I just like, I couldn't go with that. I had to go around to all these other car dealerships, and then I got all kinds of numbers, or I saw how bad their process was. This guy was actually nice, talked to me nice, gave me all the details I asked for, and then I ended up going back and buying the car with him. Oh, how did you buy it? Did you finance it? Or did you pay cash? Oh, I financed it. So do you see, by me giving the answers, whether it's the very first, when I was asked about my implant and I gave all kinds of clues, same thing happening here. It's like I buy on credit. So I'll give you another example, because I see the pattern. The more you dig into this and you ask yourselves, right, then once you see yourself, then it's like, oh, if I do these kinds of things, then me knowing how the patient does these kinds of things, how it's going to show me how I can help them pay for this. So I bought an Aviron rowing machine, very first time. It's like a $2,000 machine, and I could have paid it on credit card. I didn't want to pay cash, so I'm not a cash buyer. And I could have done credit card because I could have paid it off over time or whatever. But I'm like, you know what? They offered me financing. So my credit's good. And so I put it on a card and I paid it off over a year at like $150 a year. Okay. So that's one thing. And so then you could say, oh, okay, that's interesting. Have you ever done anything else? Like, have you bought anything else recently? Well, yeah, I just bought a Stride Rider. You can tell I like the athletic stuff. So a Street Strider, right? It's like an elliptical on wheels, and that's another $2,000 piece. And then you say, well, how did you buy that? Well, I could have paid. I didn't want to pay cash. I could have paid credit card, but I didn't want to do credit card. They offered me financing, so I got financing, and I'm paying it off $100 a month for the next 2 years. Oh, you see a pattern? Right? So now okay, she doesn't pay cash. She doesn't really like using your credit card. She will do financing because she told me that her credit was good, right? Now, and then she wouldn't be able to get the credit to pay that if her credit wasn't good, right? So you can ask more questions along that line to find out whether or not my credit really is that good. I paid a $45,000 car. I'm paying $725 a month for, so my credit has to be pretty good for that too. So you start to see the clues by asking questions. And so if you never ask questions, you never hear all the different things of how you could then present people with the treatment. One, getting them on the right service is one thing, but then how, based on what she's done in the past. And I told you with my implants, what I do, care credit. So Now you know I have care credit, so let's put something else on care credit, or let's find a way to get you some credit more to pay for these. You see? So this is why this is so important. And do we have any questions, comments?
Yeah, I had a question. Sorry.
No.
So what happens when you're like getting the facts and you're trying to find the pattern, whether people are interested in financing or how they managed before with other things, you know? But what happens, or how do you manage when they are a little like they are showing you that they are not available to pay, or they do not have the means?
Mhm.
You kind of already know that it's going to be kind of difficult, because we know that this type of treatments take a big investment. So it's not that you want to say to them, oh, you know, you're not qualified, you do not qualify for this, so we're not interested in you. But you obviously know that it's going to be a problem once they go to the office and they say that they have no ways of paying it. How do you manage that, or how do you communicate to them so they don't feel like they are unaccepted, but they know that it will be a problem or something like that?
Well, I think it depends on what's really available to them, right? So, like, all my offices have multiple financing available for all different credit. Okay. Now, if you ask them and they tell you, I've never bought anything on credit, you know, again, you have to. I've never bought anything on credit. I have no cash. You know, credit cards. I've never bought anything on credit cards, right? It's one of those folks, right? So then you can always say, right, depending on how badly they want this, right? You could ask them, is there anyone else in your life, any other family members who would be open to helping you, right? And especially if you ask them about the decision maker, right? Is there anybody else that helps you with this, would help you with this decision? And you could even ask that on the phone. And then if they say yes, usually my husband will try to make the appointment with the husband as well. Or, well, is the husband available? Is your husband available? We could call them now. Or can we bring your husband in to have another meeting with just the three of us? Right. So, you know, you just got to give some other options. And of course, there's going to be a certain percentage of people that, you know, it's just not going to work. But the good thing is, what you do is you set them up for the future and say, this is what we know what it is. You know what your payments would be, right? And so, like with me, with my implant, right? I didn't want to pay for the whole thing at once. So I said, let me pay for the first piece. I'll pay it off, which will take me 6 months, which is how long it's going to take for this to heal anyway. And then I will come back, get the next piece, and then I'll do it over time that way. So if there's a way that you can do the treatment plan where it's a chunk, so you have to be as creative as anything else. And if you have a lot of those patients, right, you have to look at the numbers, like what's the statistic on that type of patient? And one, are you attracting that type of patient by your marketing? Yes. Sorry.
Oh, not a problem. So I have a quick question. When you mentioned that there's patients that have never had a credit card, they have never bought a car or never done anything, that means they have no credit.
Mhm.
So does no credit mean the same as bad credit?
No, well, no, not at
No.
all. They just, you know,
Okay.
some people just don't want credit. Some people have
Okay.
never had enough money or whatever to be able to pay off anything on credit, right? So you don't know any of those things. It's just what you are is a problem solver.
Okay. So when we encounter those type of patients, what we have to do is like let them know we have different options. There's different financings for even lower credit scores or no credit scores. And then just forward them over to the office regardless of them not having any type of credit.
Well, yeah, because go ahead, Megan.
Yeah, I was going to say this all, you know, it's different for every office, right? You know, it depends on what, you know, what practice you're talking about, what options that you have. So it's all going to be a little bit case specific. But like Wendy says, you never want to just kind of let them go, right? Because with a patient that's missing a tooth, an implant is not the only option for them, right? That's another like important piece of this is that, you know, if it's a patient coming in on an implant, there are other ways to replace a tooth and other ways that are less expensive. And not all of those, you know, you could do a flipper, you could do a partial, and you get that patient into your office and you take care of them. And I cannot tell you how many times working in a dental office that if you just get a patient in, you get them out of pain and you give them the information, right? If they want it enough, even though they are not qualified to have it done right now, when they're ready to get it done, who are they going to go to? They're going to go back to the office that helped them get out of pain, that helped them replace that front tooth with a flipper for a year until it didn't work anymore. And they will come back to you because you've created trust with them, right? They know where to go to find you. We've treated them well. And when they can do it, they come back. It happens all of the time. So that's why it's so important to be able to figure out what's motivating them as an individual, as a patient, so that way you can and treat them and take care of them that way. And when they are ready, they will come back. They'll come back and see you again.
Yep. Oh, I saw, did Dr. Abrams have a question?
I think he was just clapping.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're just clapping.
Yeah, right. And so, you know, and there's a couple other pieces to this too, that, you know, what we've been doing now over time is giving you different pieces of the sales cycle. Okay. And so part of all this is even when presenting, which is after now, is presenting the treatment. And so, and part of that is giving them options as well, so they can really, you know, we have like implants, there might be different levels of quality of implants, or there might be, we have implant, we have bridge, we have flipper, and here's the different pricing, and you then show them the options, and then so they can know the information, and they can go, oh no, I don't want that flipper, oh no, you know, my brother had that, blah blah blah, you know. And bridge, oh, I mean personally, I will never have a bridge again because I saved money on it when I was young, and then I ended up years later busting, immense pain, root canals, and an implant. It was the most, I will never do a bridge again. So I would express that to you. So you'd be like, okay, she's not a bridge candidate, right? So, but you wouldn't know that unless you then offered me different things. So you could really, that's what the whole fact finding is, finding out really where they are. And then once they decide, then you figure out as the problem solver, how can we get you the money? What do we need to do to get you the money? And if it's financing, if it's in-house financing, if it's pay over time, is it your family? Is it what else? You know, that's the job of the office too, is to really come up with ways to help people pay, because so many of the offices that I've worked with, that what makes them unique and different is that they know that treatment coordinator knows the majority of the people coming in, they're going to say yes. The biggest challenge is how are they going to pay for it? And my job and our office job is to figure out, let me give them 15 different ways to pay for that. Okay. So, so that brings us to the end, and I hope this was helpful today. Did you enjoy this today?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. All right. So let me actually, I'm going to kind of end with you. I want you, there's an assignment. Okay, this is what I want you all to do for the next time, because this, you know, this topic is, you know, it's bigger than just 1 hour, but I want you to really go and create 7 to 8 questions that you can ask every single patient every single time. Your questions don't change. The patients change, your questions stay the same. Makes it very easy for everyone if you set up 7 to 8 questions that you're going to ask every time. Then you're going to add some money questions on the end of that as well. When did you buy it? How much was it, right? And if they, whatever the treatment was, first ask about the treatment. Then after that, if they didn't have that treatment before, try and find something else in their life that, you know, have you ever bought a cell phone before? Ever bought a car before? Have you ever bought a computer before? All right, well, how much was it? How did you pay for it? Right? And then they'll tell you all the clues about now how they're going to want to pay for this. Even if insurance, because insurance may not cover it, right? And they might say, yeah, I have insurance and I would just pay with insurance, right? And okay, so then you have to check and make sure that their insurance covers it. But then you want to make sure, okay, they found other ways to pay for other things, so we can now be creative and problem solve. And if they say yes to the treatment, our job is just to help them find a way to make be able to pay for it. All right, my friends. So again, thank you very much.
Awesome.
Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Wendy. Thank you, everybody, for joining today.
My
Awesome.
pleasure. Yes.
So we're going to get recordings together. We'll get that clipped up. I want to thank the dental partners for joining us this week, but also the call team for taking a little bit of time jumping on with us here. Did you find this valuable in being able to actually help confirm more appointments for our partners and also put a better foot forward in terms of setting a good impression for each one of our partners?
Very helpful.
Awesome. Okay. That's super good to hear. So just like we want to bring education to our providers, right? It would be remiss for us to not have our own team zoned in on that and making sure that, you guys are able to, practice what we preach on these calls as well too. And so that's really exciting for us and for our partners as well too. We look forward to you guys taking some of these tricks and these tips and implementing them on behalf of our practices. Thank you guys, everybody. Thank you, Wendy. I think some of the meat and potatoes in this one was really, really good in terms of the info that was dropped, some of the things that can help. And I think that our team and our providers are going to be able to do much better now. So have a great weekend. Thank you, Dr. Fredo. Thank you, Marisol, for getting on. Everyone have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Till next.
you.
Let's go.
Bye.